My beloved child, before this night slips away and before your thoughts carry you somewhere else, stay here with me for just a moment. Slow down. Do not rush past this. Do not treat this as another ordinary message crossing your path. There is a reason your eyes stopped here. There is a reason your attention lingered when it could have moved on. And there is a reason your heart feels something it cannot fully explain. You may be asking yourself why you are here right now. Out of all the places you could be, out of all the voices you could be listening to, why did this moment find you? Why did these words appear before you tonight? My child, the answer is simpler than you think and deeper than you can imagine. You are here because I wanted your attention, not because I am angry with you, not because I am disappointed in you, not because you have failed me. You are here because I love you. You are here because I see what others do not see. I see the weariness hidden behind your smile. I see the questions you carry that you rarely speak aloud. I see the burdens you have been dragging through days and nights while trying to convince everyone around you that you are doing just fine. And because I see you, I could not remain silent. You may call this coincidence. You may call it timing. You may call it luck or chance. But my child, I have never worked through chance. Long before this day arrived, I knew this moment would come. Long before you felt this exhaustion, long before you faced these struggles, long before you found yourself searching for answers, I already knew where you would be. I knew what would be weighing on your heart. I knew the silent battles that would leave you wondering if anyone truly understood. And because I knew, I prepared this moment for you. There are times when heaven whispers gently. There are times when I speak through quiet impressions, small reminders, and subtle nudges. But there are also moments when I step directly into someone's path because they need to hear something they were never meant to miss. This is one of those moments. You have been moving through life carrying more than you were designed to carry. Your mind has been crowded. Your heart has been restless. Even when your body has tried to rest, your thoughts have continued running. Questions, concerns, unanswered prayers, unfinished worries, hidden fears. They have followed you into the night and greeted you again in the morning. And somewhere deep inside, you have been longing for reassurance, longing for clarity, longing for a sign that you are not alone. My child, listen carefully. The fact that you are here right now is already part of that answer. I know there have been moments when you wondered if I still saw you. Moments when my silence felt confusing. Moments when you looked around and wondered why others seemed to move forward while you remained waiting. But silence is not abandonment. Waiting is not rejection. Delay is not absence. Even when you could not see me moving, I was working in ways beyond your understanding. Even when you thought nothing was happening, I was arranging things you could not yet see. There are details of your story that you do not know. There are prayers that have reached my heart that you have already forgotten you prayed. There are tears you shed that no one witnessed, yet I saw every one of them. There are nights when you felt invisible, yet heaven never lost sight of you for a single second. That is why this moment matters. That is why you should not dismiss what your spirit is feeling right now. Something inside you knows this is different. Something inside you recognizes a familiar invitation. Not an invitation into fear. Not an invitation into pressure. An invitation into closeness. Into trust. Into the reminder that your story is not random and neither are you. My child, there is a reason for this timing. There is a reason these words arrived tonight and not yesterday. There is a reason you are hearing this now instead of later. Heaven is never careless with timing. I know exactly when a weary heart needs comfort. I know exactly when a discouraged soul needs hope. I know exactly when someone standing at the edge of exhaustion needs to be reminded that they are still deeply loved. And tonight, I am reminding you, you are seen, you are known, you are remembered, you are not forgotten in the crowd. You are not lost among millions. You are not overlooked. I know your name, I know your journey, I know your pain, and I know the future I am still unfolding before you. So stay close, my child. Let your heart remain open. Let your spirit lean in a little closer, because this moment is not an accident. It is not random. It is not meaningless. It is a divine appointment wrapped in grace, carried by perfect timing, and placed before you by the one who has loved you from the very beginning. And because I know your story more deeply than anyone else ever could, I also know the weight you have been carrying for far too long. My child, the exhaustion you feel is not only physical. It is deeper than tired muscles and restless nights. It is the kind of weariness that settles quietly into the heart, the kind that follows you even after a full night of sleep, the kind that stays with you when everything around you seems calm, yet something inside still feels heavy. I see it. I see the emotional fatigue you rarely talk about. I see how often you tell yourself to keep going when every part of you wants to stop and rest. I see how many times you have pushed your own pain aside because other people needed something from you. You have carried responsibilities, expectations, worries about the future, disappointments from the past, and little by little, those burdens have gathered inside you until you no longer remember what it feels like to be truly at peace. There have been days when you smiled even though your heart felt tired, days when you answered questions with polite words while silently fighting battles no one knew existed. Days when you felt surrounded by people and yet strangely alone. You have become so accustomed to carrying hidden pain that sometimes you forget it is there. But I have not forgotten. I have seen every silent struggle. I have seen the moments when your thoughts would not slow down. The moments when your mind replayed old conversations, old mistakes, old disappointments. I have seen you wondering if you could have done something differently. Wondering if things would have turned out better if you had chosen another path. Wondering why certain doors closed while others never seemed to open. Those questions have lingered longer than you admit. They have quietly drained your strength. And even when you tried to move forward, part of your heart remained stuck in places of uncertainty. My child, I know about the hidden grief you carry. Not only the grief that comes from loss, but also the grief that comes from unmet expectations. The dreams that never unfolded the way you hoped. The opportunities that slipped away, the relationships that changed, the seasons of life that ended before you were ready to let them go. Sometimes the deepest pain is not what happened. Sometimes it is what never happened. Sometimes it is the future you imagined but never saw. And that pain can sit quietly within a person for a very long time. I know there are moments when you feel emotionally exhausted without fully understanding why. You tell yourself you should be stronger. You tell yourself you should be more grateful. You tell yourself that other people have bigger problems, yet the heaviness remains. The reason is not weakness. The reason is that your heart has been carrying more than it was meant to carry alone. There have been fears you never voiced, worries you kept hidden, tears you held back because you thought no one would understand. You have learned how to function while hurting. You have learned how to keep moving while feeling empty. You have learned how to survive difficult seasons. But survival is not the same as peace, and deep inside your soul knows the difference. I also see the pressure you place upon yourself, the constant feeling that you need to do more, be more, fix more, achieve more, the quiet fear of disappointing others, the burden of trying to hold everything together. My child, that burden has been heavier than you realize. It has followed you into quiet moments. It has followed you into your prayers. It has followed you into the late hours when no one else can hear the conversations happening inside your mind. You may feel unseen by the world at times. You may feel misunderstood. You may even wonder whether anyone truly recognizes how difficult this season has been for you. But I do. I see every hidden burden. I see every silent struggle. I see every wound that has not fully healed. And even now, as you listen, you do not need to pretend with me. You do not need to hide your exhaustion. You do not need to explain your pain. I already know where it hurts. I already know what has been weighing upon your heart, and I have never looked away. And that is where I need you to look a little deeper, my child, because some of the heaviest burdens you carry are not only the things that happen to you. Some of the heaviest burdens are the things you slowly began to believe about yourself because of what happened to you. Pain has a way of speaking when it stays unattended for too long. Disappointment has a way of whispering conclusions that feel true when your heart is weary. And little by little, without even realizing it, you began accepting certain thoughts as facts. You began believing stories about yourself that I never wrote. Perhaps one of those stories sounds familiar. You are forgotten. You look around and see others moving forward while you remain in a place of waiting. You watch prayers seem unanswered. You watch opportunities pass by. You watch people come and go. And somewhere along the way, a quiet voice began telling you that you must have been overlooked, not important enough, not remembered enough, not valuable enough. But my child, that voice did not come from me. I have never forgotten you for a single moment, not in your strongest season, not in your weakest season, not in your moments of faith, not in your moments of doubt. Yet fear has a way of repeating itself until it sounds like truth. Another lie you may have carried is this: you are not enough, not successful enough, not talented enough, not attractive enough, not wise enough, not strong enough. You compare your journey to the journeys of others and somehow convince yourself that you fall short. You focus on what you lack instead of seeing what I have already placed within you. You magnify your imperfections and minimize the gifts I lovingly planted in your life. And over time, self-doubt becomes a lens through which you view everything. Even your victories feel small. Even your progress feels insignificant. Even your worth becomes something you feel you must earn. But my child, your value was never determined by performance. Your worth was never measured by comparison. Your identity was never meant to be built upon approval from people. There is another false belief that has quietly exhausted many hearts. It sounds like this: if things are difficult, something must be wrong with me. So every struggle becomes evidence against yourself. Every setback becomes a reason to question your worth. Every delay becomes proof that you are failing, and because of that belief, you carry shame that was never yours to carry. You judge yourself more harshly than anyone else ever could. You replay mistakes long after they have passed. You hold yourself captive to old versions of yourself that no longer exist. My child, fear and self-doubt are skilled at disguising themselves as wisdom. They tell you they are protecting you when they are actually limiting you. They tell you to expect disappointment so you will not get hurt. They tell you not to hope too much, not to trust too much, not to dream too much. Yet every time you listen, your world becomes smaller, your heart becomes more guarded, your spirit becomes more weary. I know how exhausting it is to fight battles that no one else can see. I know how draining it is to question yourself every day. I know how painful it is when the loudest criticism comes from within your own thoughts. And that is why I am gently bringing these things into the light. Not to condemn you, not to expose your weakness, but to help you recognize what has been shaping your emotions from behind the scenes. Because many times the deepest wound is not the circumstance itself. The deepest wound is the meaning you attach to it, the belief that formed around it, the conclusion that settled into your heart. And my child, some of those conclusions have been stealing your peace for far too long. I see the fear. I see the self-doubt. I see the false beliefs that have quietly followed you through this season. And even now, as they are being named, you do not need to be afraid of them. You do not need to hide them from me. I have always known they were there, and I have remained beside you through every moment, even when those voices tried to convince you otherwise. My child, now let me show you something that may surprise you. The way you see yourself and the way I see you are often very different. You look at your weaknesses and I see your perseverance. You look at your delays and I see your preparation. You look at your scars and I see the places where you continued moving forward even when it would have been easier to quit. You measure yourself by outcomes, by accomplishments, by how much progress you think you should have made by now. But I look deeper than that. I look at the heart that kept believing when answers did not come quickly. I look at the soul that kept getting back up after disappointment. I look at the faith that survived seasons that should have crushed it. My child, you have spent so much time focusing on what is missing that you have overlooked what has been growing. You see the unfinished parts of your story. I see the strength being formed within it. You see the obstacles. I see the endurance. You see the waiting. I see the maturity that waiting has quietly produced. There have been moments when you thought you were falling apart, yet those same moments were teaching you compassion. There were seasons when you felt lost, yet those seasons were teaching you how to depend on me more deeply than before. There were disappointments that seemed meaningless, yet even then something valuable was developing beneath the surface. My child, growth does not always look the way people expect. A tree does not become strong overnight. Long before anyone admires its height, roots are growing where no one can see them. Long before fruit appears, unseen work is taking place beneath the surface. And that is what has been happening in your life. You have been judging yourself by visible results while ignoring the invisible growth that has been taking place all along. I see the patience that has been forming. I see the wisdom you gained through difficult experiences. I see the kindness that emerged from your own pain. I see the resilience that developed every time you chose not to give up. You may feel ordinary, but I see evidence of my work throughout your story. You may feel weak, but I see strength that has been tested and refined. You may feel forgotten, but I see someone who has remained in my sight every single day of their life. There is hidden strength inside you that you do not fully recognize yet, not because you are powerful on your own, but because I have been sustaining you. Think about all the moments you thought you could not continue. Think about all the days you believed you had reached your limit, yet somehow you kept going. Somehow you found the strength to face another day. Somehow you continued moving forward even while carrying burdens that felt too heavy. My child, that was not an accident. That was evidence of my presence with you. Even when you could not feel it, I was helping you take the next step. Even when you felt alone, I was closer than you realized. You often see your story through the lens of fear. I see it through the lens of purpose. You see mistakes. I see lessons. You see detours. I see guidance. You see delays. I see timing. You see weakness. I see a beloved child who has survived more than they give themselves credit for. My child, if only you could see yourself the way I see you, you would understand that your story is not one of failure. It is a story of endurance. It is a story of unseen growth. It is a story of grace carrying you farther than you ever imagined possible. And while you have been questioning whether you are enough, I have been watching a beautiful work unfold within you, one quiet day at a time. And perhaps this is the question that has lived quietly in your heart for longer than you care to admit. Why has it taken so long? Why have some prayers seemed to linger unanswered? Why have certain doors remained closed? Why has the season of waiting stretched beyond what you thought you could endure? My child, I understand why you ask these questions. Waiting can feel confusing when you cannot see what is happening beneath the surface. It can feel lonely when you measure time by visible results. It can feel discouraging when you expected change, but instead found yourself standing in the same place month after month, season after season. Yet what appears still to you is not still to me. What feels empty to you is often full of unseen activity. Think about a seed planted deep in the ground. The moment it disappears beneath the soil, it does not look successful. It does not look productive. It does not look like anything important is happening. If someone judged the seed only by what they could see above the surface, they might assume nothing was changing at all. Yet beneath the soil, hidden from human eyes, roots are beginning to grow. Strength is developing. Foundations are being established. The seed is becoming capable of carrying the life that will eventually emerge. My child, many of my greatest works begin where human eyes cannot see. You have been looking for fruit while I have been growing roots. You have been looking for visible progress while I have been building unseen strength. You have been asking when things will change around you while I have been working within you. The waiting season is not wasted time. It is preparation. It is process. It is growth that often happens quietly before it becomes visible. Consider the changing seasons. Winter does not mean life has disappeared. It means preparation is taking place beneath the surface. Trees that appear bare are not abandoned. Fields that appear empty are not forgotten. The season itself is serving a purpose. And when the proper time arrives, growth appears exactly when it was meant to. My child, there have been moments when you interpreted waiting as rejection. But waiting and rejection are not the same thing. There have been moments when you interpreted delay as absence. But delay and absence are not the same thing. There have been moments when you assumed nothing was happening. Yet even then, I was arranging circumstances, shaping character, strengthening faith, and preparing opportunities you could not yet see. If certain things had arrived before you were ready, they might have become burdens instead of blessings. If certain doors had opened too soon, you might have entered places your heart was not yet prepared to sustain. Because I love you, I do not only care about what you receive, I also care about who you become while waiting to receive it. Growth is rarely comfortable. Roots grow in darkness before they reach sunlight. Seeds break open before new life emerges. Seasons change gradually before anyone notices the difference. And in the same way, your soul has been developing through experiences you once wished would end immediately. Patience has been growing. Wisdom has been growing. Dependence upon me has been growing. Compassion has been growing. Even your ability to endure difficult days without losing hope has been growing. My child, I know the waiting has not been easy. I know there were days when you wanted immediate answers. I know there were nights when you questioned whether progress was being made at all. But I need you to understand something beautiful. The fact that you are still here. The fact that your heart still longs for me. The fact that hope still flickers within you despite everything you have faced is evidence that the process is already producing something valuable. You are not standing still as much as you think. You are not forgotten in the waiting. You are being prepared. And even now, in ways you cannot fully see, roots are reaching deeper, strength is growing stronger, and a season that once felt empty is quietly becoming the foundation for something greater than you imagined. And as this process continues, another question begins to emerge beneath the surface. If the waiting has a purpose, then who are you becoming through it? My child, many people focus so much on where they are going that they rarely stop to notice who they are becoming along the way. They measure growth by external change. They look for bigger opportunities, different circumstances, visible breakthroughs, and immediate results. Yet some of the most meaningful transformations happen quietly within the soul long before they become visible to anyone else. The person you were a few years ago would not have carried this season the way you carry it now. The challenges you have faced have shaped you in ways you may not fully recognize. There is wisdom growing within you, not the kind that comes from reading information alone, but the kind that comes from walking through difficult valleys and learning what truly matters. You have learned that not every opportunity is worth chasing. You have learned that not every voice deserves your attention. You have learned that peace is more valuable than constant approval. You have learned lessons that cannot be taught in a classroom because they were written into your heart through experience. Wisdom is being built within you one day at a time. There is also resilience being formed inside you. At one time, certain disappointments might have completely discouraged you. Certain obstacles might have caused you to stop moving forward altogether. Yet here you are, not because every day has been easy, not because every question has been answered, but because something stronger has been developing within you. Resilience is not the absence of struggle. It is the ability to continue walking through struggle without surrendering to despair. Every challenge you have faced has been strengthening muscles of the spirit that could not have developed any other way. You are stronger than you realize, not because life has been gentle, but because you have continued growing through seasons that tested you. Patience is also taking root within you. This kind of patience is not passive waiting. It is steady trust. It is learning how to move forward without demanding immediate answers. It is learning how to remain faithful during unfinished chapters. Patience teaches the heart how to breathe when certainty is unavailable. It teaches the soul how to remain grounded when outcomes are still unknown. And while patience may not feel exciting in the moment, it becomes one of the strongest foundations a person can possess. There is another transformation taking place that is easy to overlook. Compassion is growing within you. Pain has given you a deeper understanding of other people. The struggles you have faced have softened places within your heart that once may have been quick to judge. You understand loneliness differently now. You understand disappointment differently now. You understand emotional fatigue differently now. Because of what you have walked through, you can recognize pain in others that many people would miss. Compassion is one of the most beautiful fruits that emerges from difficult seasons. It transforms suffering into understanding and hardship into kindness. My child, you may still see unfinished areas in your life. You may still notice goals that have not been reached and prayers that have not yet unfolded the way you hoped. But do not overlook the extraordinary work already taking place within you. Wisdom is replacing confusion. Resilience is replacing fragility. Patience is replacing restlessness. Compassion is replacing hardness. These are not small changes. These are the kinds of qualities that shape a life for decades. Long after circumstances change, these treasures remain. And one day, When you look back on this season, you may discover that the greatest miracle was not simply what happened around you. The greatest miracle was who you became while walking through it. The person emerging from this process is steadier, deeper, wiser, and more prepared than the person who first entered it. And even now, that transformation continues quietly, faithfully, and beautifully within you. And now, my child, after everything you have carried, everything you have questioned, everything you have endured, a gentle invitation stands before you, not a demand, not a burden, not another weight to place upon your shoulders, an invitation. Because there comes a moment in every season of growth when understanding alone is no longer enough. There comes a moment when the heart must choose a direction. You have spent time examining the burdens. You have recognized the false beliefs. You have begun to see the growth taking place within you. And now the question becomes simpler than you think. What will you continue carrying, and what are you willing to release? Some of the exhaustion you feel does not come from the journey itself. It comes from carrying things that were never meant to stay in your hands. You were never meant to carry every outcome. You were never meant to control every future event. You were never meant to solve every unanswered question before taking the next step. Yet so often, you have tried. You have held tightly to worries about tomorrow. You have replayed conversations from yesterday. You have carried responsibilities that belong to other people. You have carried guilt from mistakes that have already passed. You have carried fears about situations that have not even happened. And little by little, those burdens have drained your strength. So let me ask you something gently. What would happen if you loosened your grip? What would happen if you stopped carrying what was never yours to hold? What would happen if, instead of trying to control every detail, you allowed trust to take the place of constant striving? My child, there are some things that cannot be healed while they are still being clutched tightly. There are wounds that begin healing when they are finally surrendered. There are burdens that become lighter when they are finally released. Perhaps there is resentment you have been carrying for far too long, not because you wanted to hold it, but because the hurt felt too deep to release. Perhaps there is disappointment that still lingers in hidden corners of your heart. Perhaps there are expectations that need to be placed down. Perhaps there are fears that have occupied your thoughts for so long that they now feel familiar. Yet familiar does not always mean healthy. Sometimes the next step forward is not adding something new. Sometimes it is letting something old go. Let go of the belief that everything depends on you. Let go of the pressure to have every answer. Let go of the need to understand every delay before you can trust the process. Let go of the fear that your future rests entirely upon your own strength. Trust is not pretending that questions do not exist. Trust is choosing to keep moving forward even when some questions remain unanswered. Forgiveness is not pretending pain never happened. Forgiveness is refusing to let old pain continue directing your future. Surrender is not weakness. It is the courage to place what you cannot control into hands greater than your own. My child, this invitation is not about perfection. It is about willingness. A willing heart can take a step where fear once stood. A willing heart can release what has become too heavy. A willing heart can choose peace over endless striving. And perhaps tonight, more than anything else, the invitation before you is simply this. Stop carrying tomorrow before it arrives. Stop carrying yesterday after it has passed. Be present here, breathe here, trust here, one step at a time, one day at a time, one decision at a time. You do not have to carry everything. You do not have to force every door open. You do not have to hold together every piece of your story by yourself. There is freedom waiting on the other side of release. There is peace waiting on the other side of surrender. And there is strength waiting on the other side of trust. And when you begin releasing what was never meant to remain in your hands, something else quietly begins to happen. Space is created for hope. Space is created for possibility. Space is created for a future that you cannot fully see yet. My child, one of the reasons fear feels so powerful is because it convinces you that what you see today is all there will ever be. It persuades you that the current chapter is the entire story. It takes temporary struggles and presents them as permanent realities. But that is not how life unfolds. Seasons change, chapters turn, roads that once seemed blocked suddenly open in unexpected ways. And often the most meaningful opportunities appear when a person has almost stopped expecting them. I want you to understand something important. You do not need to know every detail about the future in order to have hope for it. Hope is not built upon complete information. Hope is built upon the understanding that there is more ahead than what is currently visible. Right now, there are possibilities you cannot see. There are conversations that have not happened yet. There are relationships that have not entered your life yet. There are lessons that will bring clarity. There are opportunities that will arrive at the proper time. There are moments of restoration that cannot be rushed, but are still moving toward you one day at a time. My child, do not confuse unseen with non-existent. Just because something has not appeared does not mean it is not developing. Think again about the seed beneath the soil. For a season, it appears invisible, yet life is already unfolding within it. In the same way, many beautiful things begin long before they become visible. New chapters often start quietly. A renewed perspective, a healthier habit, a stronger sense of peace, a deeper understanding of purpose. These things may seem small at first, yet they become the foundation for larger changes over time. The future I want you to imagine is not built upon fear. It is not built upon worst-case scenarios. It is not built upon every anxious thought that has tried to convince you that disappointment is inevitable. Instead, imagine a future where healing continues to grow. Imagine a future where burdens that once felt overwhelming no longer control your emotions. Imagine a future where wisdom guides decisions more than fear. Imagine a future where peace becomes more familiar than anxiety. Imagine a future where you recognize your own growth and realize how far you have come. Restoration does not always mean returning to what once was. Sometimes restoration means becoming something stronger, healthier, and more whole than before. Sometimes restoration means discovering new purpose after loss. Sometimes restoration means finding unexpected beauty in places that once felt empty. Sometimes restoration means learning that your story can continue even after seasons you thought would define you forever. My child, there is still more ahead, more growth, more understanding, more opportunities to learn, to serve, to connect, to experience joy, and to discover new dimensions of grace. You do not need to force your way into the next chapter. You do not need to live in constant fear of missing it. Continue taking the next faithful step. Continue growing where you are planted. Continue allowing hope to breathe again within your heart. The future remains unwritten in many ways, and that is not something to fear. It is something to anticipate. Because no matter how limited today's view may seem, there are horizons beyond it. There are doors not yet visible. There are possibilities not yet imagined. And there is a new chapter gradually unfolding, one page at a time, carrying opportunities for restoration, renewal, and breakthrough that your present perspective cannot fully see yet. And now, my child, as this moment gently comes to a close, I do not want you to leave carrying the same heaviness that you brought with you. I want you to leave with something different. Not more pressure, not more questions, not more fear about what tomorrow may hold. I want you to leave with peace. The kind of peace that does not depend on perfect circumstances. The kind of peace that remains steady even when every answer has not yet arrived. Take a moment and remember what you have discovered along this journey. The burdens were real, but they were never invisible. The struggles were difficult, but they were never meaningless. The waiting was painful, but it was never wasted. Growth has been taking place in places you could not see. Strength has been forming beneath the surface. Wisdom has been developing through every challenge. Patience has been growing through every delay. Compassion has been deepening through every difficult season. You may not have noticed it every day, but the process has been shaping you. My child, do not return to the old habit of measuring your worth by your worries. Do not return to the exhausting cycle of believing that everything depends upon your own strength. Do not return to the voices that tell you your story is finished. Those voices do not deserve the final word. Lift your eyes a little higher, breathe a little deeper, walk forward a little lighter. The chapter you are living today is not the whole story. The struggles you face today are not the whole story. The uncertainty you feel today is not the whole story. There is still grace for tomorrow. There is still strength for tomorrow. There is still hope for tomorrow, and there is still purpose unfolding one step at a time. As you continue forward, carry this truth with you. You do not need to know everything in order to trust. You do not need to control everything in order to have peace. You do not need to have every answer before taking the next faithful step. One step is enough. One day is enough. One moment of trust is enough. Let your heart rest. Let your thoughts become quiet. Let the fears that once shouted begin to lose their power. Let the weight that has followed you for so long finally loosen its grip. There is no need to rush. There is no need to strive. There is no need to carry tomorrow before it arrives. Simply walk forward with a steady heart and an open spirit. May peace settle over your mind. May courage strengthen your heart. May wisdom guide your decisions. May patience sustain you through unfinished seasons. May hope rise whenever discouragement tries to return. May you discover joy in unexpected places and strength in moments when you once felt weak. And may you never forget this simple truth. You are not defined by your fears. You are not defined by your delays. You are not defined by your struggles. You are being shaped by grace, strengthened through the journey, and prepared for what lies ahead. So go forward with peace, my child. Go forward with hope. Go forward knowing that every season has meaning, every step has purpose, and every chapter still belongs within a story that is not finished yet. And if you remember only one thing after this moment, remember this. What feels unfinished today is not abandoned. The story is still unfolding, and there is still goodness ahead.